Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Before I start, has anyone worked out how to get the plastic off those eye touches? It's just the kids would really like that. I thought that would be funnier than it was. Right. I'm here to talk really about teams and the right team. Julie said to me she'd like me to talk about if people are your business, why are they not on your balance sheet if they're their most important asset? And I suppose it's difficult for me because I've been in sport where the players are the club's assets, but especially now. I've just been speaking to Lucy Ray, Nigel's daughter, about Saracens, and they don't own their own stadium. They rent it. So realistically, their only assets are their team. And for years, 3 years on, most of those contracts run out, so your assets are quite happy to leave and move on elsewhere. So it's difficult to contain it. And that's quite difficult, I think, also when you're inheriting a side. We heard Lloyd speak earlier about starting a team and developing one. But what happens when you get into an environment where you take over people, you're trying to integrate new teams? And I've done that quite a lot through a variety of different, both on the field and off the field over the years. And it's essential, I think, you always have to start with a good leader. You have to be able to find a leader who is really able to deliver everything he needs as a team. Now, as a sportsman, it's quite black and white, both business and sport for me. It's simple. It's just those three words. If you want to win, you prepare, you train, and then you deliver. There's no middle ground. There's nothing in between. There's only mistakes. And Lloyd mentioned somebody asked you about mistakes earlier. I feel that your biggest mistake was not sponsoring me instead of Johnny Wilkinson. Obviously, you missed out on a massive opportunity there. As I said, fearless leadership. I've played with a lot of great leaders, and when you're in a team, I think it's important individually that you become your own leader. You drive yourself. You're part of that team. You have the ability to become your own driver. But as I said, leaders are so important in all the teams I've been involved in. They really are the focal point. This guy was a great leader for us, for England. Obviously, it's difficult now for him. He's taken over with England, where it's the side he's inherited, haven't really got that many characteristics of drive, and he's had to bring a lot of new ideas back into them from sort of an old ethos. He's brought a lot of old enjoyment values back to the team. Probably pushed it a little too far recently in New Zealand, but thankfully I wasn't there, otherwise I probably would have been thrown. I don't know how far to take this speech, to be perfectly honest. He was great, but he realized that he had to constantly evolve. He had to find a vision and a drive and then push it forward. That inspiration when we were in a team was about being able to look after your teammate, look after the guy next to you. I had, obviously I was the best player in the team for a number of years, but sometimes you can't always have that energy, you can't always have that drive. After the birth of our first daughter, I had postnatal depression really badly for 3 months. This isn't a joke, I was not leading anywhere, it's serious. And my teammates recognized this, and they recognized that I wasn't performing to my maximum, but at no stage did they criticize me, at no stage did they get on top of me. They put their arm around me and carried me through. And those sort of teams are the things that you remember. When I look back and then when I regained all my energy, and other players were in the same situation, it's those sort of experience where you stand shoulder to shoulder with your teammates that help you drive through difficult patches. We had difficult periods both at Leicester and with England and the British Lions. But when you're surrounded by people who you trust, but also are quite different from you, it really does help. And I think that diversity was what sort of made players develop, made people look outside themselves and not be so introverted like I am. And I think the diversity that we had with Leicester was fortunate, and with England. We had some great characters in our side. You know, you look at those guys there. Jason Leonard, 114 tests, only 3 positive. Matt Dawson there, he's probably the thickest guy I've ever played rugby with. He's not an intelligent guy, but he's a leader. Strangely, he is. I mean, we recently did a World Cup Weakest Link special last week, and Anne came round, Austin Astrophysics, correct. She got round to Matt and she said, "Matt, what J is where 2 roads meet?" And he said, "Dual carriageway." So, but yet he was made captain of England. He was a leader. He wasn't the most intelligent guy off the field. And I think a few people have said that, you know, maybe someone's got an MBA, but they haven't got the energy to drive your business. And he was the same, you know, outside of rugby, he's got no chance in life. But it was those characters and that diversity that really helped us grow as a side. Because when you are in a team, you realize that there's one thing you cannot fake. You know, you can fake your ability to play, you can fake your ability to talk, you can even con the coaches to make them think that you're a better player than you are. But your inner confidence is something that you can never, ever fake. You cannot lie to yourself and tell yourself that you're in control if you are not. But if you're on a team that is in a good situation and looks after one another, then that is something that you can build together. We realised this at Leicester. We had a 5-game running streak, as they're going through now, during a World Cup back in 2003. And instead of really getting on top of each other, we put our arms around each other. We ring-fenced our brand. We made sure that nobody knew the problems we were having externally. And for that reason, we were able to really focus on our basics, get back to basics, and then start to refocus, build momentum, and re-deliver, which is what I said at the start. Somebody who was always about winning and repeat winning was Sir Clive Woodward. Now, it's all well and good saying all these words, but I do think you need to have some kind of framework behind you if you are going to deliver repeated success. Sir Clive realised that was the situation, and he brought out, basically, there are 5 mantras that were on the walls of all the hotels we stayed in all over the world. Attention to detail. Obviously, that's something for you all to look at very carefully there. Only a few of you have spotted that. He was always about breaking the day down to the final second. And effectively, that's what happened in the World Cup. Because he'd broken it down all the way down to the final second of the final game, we were able to win. Johnny Wilkinson was out there practicing in the last seconds under pressure. They used to fire hose pipes at him from either side in his training for drop goals. Just in case, I don't know if you saw it the weekend, but Scotland missed a drop goal in the last second of the game to win the game in the pouring rain. Now, I don't think that Parks had been stood out on the Penny Hill Park, well, he's not Scotland players, not allowed to the England Hotel, but I don't think that it had been stood out with hose pipes firing at him from either side. And it's just that little attention to detail. He looked at every fine detail because that's the sort of guy he was. That's what he wanted from the team. He was about empowering confidence. Like I said before, something that you can't build personally inside unless things are always going well. He was great at building team confidence. I'll give you a quick example. The night before we play New Zealand in the World Cup, he'd have the flip chart there, the Friday night motivational, inspirational speech. He'd open the flip chart. Down one side would be the New Zealand team. Down the other side would be the England team. And he'd say, not one of these All Blacks would get in my team. I do not want one of these players. And he went through them. Jason Robinson, Christian Cullen, Robbo, you're a magical player. We need the magic from you tomorrow. Jeff Wilson, David Rees. Reese, you scored a magical try against New Zealand last year. We need that same try, same performance tomorrow. Will Greenwood, Frank Bunce, Will, you're the brains of this back line. You make the right decisions at the right time. You're in on merit. Phil de Glanville, Walter Little. Phil, you're the hard man of this back line. Look at your face. It proves it. We need those hard yards from you tomorrow. You're in on merit. Jonah Lomu, Austin Healey. Johnny Wilkinson, Andrew Mertens. But he was about inspiring confidence in everyone. I did take a bit of a knock there. I realised I was playing against probably the second best rugby player in the world the following day, but that was fine by me. And like I said, pushing boundaries. I think someone mentioned before about doing something that hasn't been done before. That was certainly both a team ethos and a personal ethos. I'll get to that in a minute. Maximising output 24 hours a day. Clive's attention to detail went so far that every single player leading up to the World Cup, in the 6 months leading up to the World Cup, had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day to take an amino acid protein, which would help the steroids really work. Fortunately, they haven't had any effect. So, no, we had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're everywhere in the world. We had alarm calls set to our homes. We also had alarm calls set into hotels. We'd get up, take this amino acid. It tasted like Persil, but it maximised the protein intake that you were taking and made you basically as big as the South Sea Islanders. And finally, trust. The big problem with England at the minute, I think, is that there's a lack of trust. People aren't prepared to stand in the firing line and let someone behind them make a decision that governs how well they perform. And that's what we were happy to do. At our best, you could stand with your head in the middle of a ruck being kicked in the head, and someone behind you would say one word and you would 100% believe him. Now, that takes quite a lot of trust. And I know probably a lot of you in business, well, you guys at Label Sneak will have to get kicked in the head by me. But nobody really has to go through that on a daily basis. And I suppose to draw the comparisons is quite difficult. For those of you who are in business and you think, you stand face to face with someone. When we were playing in sport, sometimes it was a matter of life and death, or as good as so. And so I hope you can draw the comparisons that you can from that. But it's all about having that utter belief in those around you to do their jobs. You were only one cog in a team, even if you were the best cog. This is... No one got that. This is what Clive wrote down. This is what he was all about, creating a sustainable environment. We have a shared and collective responsibility for the success, sustainability, and diversity of the team. The winning mentality of the team is paramount to the ability to grow both personally and together. This is the DNA of the whole team. Everyone has the same goal. Now, that was true, but there was a lot of long words in there that a lot of the players didn't really understand. So we decided to change it to this. And that's what it was about for us. It was about going into work every day and enjoying yourself. Because I think you'll all agree, if you go into work and you enjoy yourself, you have such an energy, such a drive, such a vision. If you have got a vision, that energy can really be carried through against any barriers. And when you turn up every day, and some days you're doing exactly the same thing as you were doing the day before, and it can become quite hard work, quite monotonous. But if there's a vision, a goal in mind, if you're enjoying it like we did, then it was made a whole lot easier. We carried it on. This is who we wanted to be as a team. This is from Leicester Tigers. We were all about living the brand. When you pull on that shirt, it's more than just pulling on a shirt. And it's important for all your team to realise that. When you pull on the shirt, it's about the brand, it's about the supporters, it's about the club, it's about its history. We ring-fenced the brand very protectively. Dean Richards made sure that in his 5 years as coach, no bad news ever left the training field. We could say whatever we wanted to our teammates. We could be completely honest. And in fact, every single Wednesday we had a fight at training just to clear the air. As you can see, I managed to stay out of most of those. But it was all about clearing the air. But no one ever knew any of our internal problems. To the outside world, they thought we were the tightest bunch of guys you could ever meet. Which meant that when they turned up to play at Welford Road, most of the time they'd already lost. Because they knew how, or they thought we were so much stronger than we actually were. We may have had our own internal fears, but in reality, they were more scared of us than we were of them. And it was creating a culture as well, the culture where you wanted to go to work, a culture where you wanted to be part of this team. If you were out of the team, you felt so distant. So Clive had that ethos that if you were dropped from England, you were removed from the hotel. You had to go and stay in another hotel. And he wanted to make it feel that basically, if you were in the team, you were in the team. If you weren't, you had to work your bollocks off to get back in. And that was I didn't get dropped, but some of the other players told me that that was a horrible experience. And when you are removed, even if it's only for a week, you feel like you're desperate to get back in. And that really drove energy and competition within the squad. And I think at the bottom there as well, only winning will do. It's easy for a sportsman to say that. There's no middle ground. I don't think draws should be allowed, personally, but it was all about the win. Saturday night, I remember my 30th birthday party was a surprise birthday party. We'd just lost our first game in 3 years at Welford Road. I went home. We'd played a Welsh side, which made it even worse. I went home, and my wife said, right, we're going out. And I said, I'm not going out. She said, we're going out. I said, I am not going out. We've just lost. Don't even talk to me. I'm not going out. She said, we are going out. We are going out. In the end, she had to force me to leave to my surprise 30th birthday party, where I was dressed as a woman for the rest of the night. Now, I really do wish I'd stayed in and stuck to my guns there, but you know, winning was everything to us because it was a lifestyle and a culture that we wanted, and at no stage was it ever about money. You know, you talk about footballers, they talk about money a lot. In the rugby environment, no one ever spoke about money. No one cared. You realise when you're in a team like that, though, if you want to grow, and I said about Clive leaving people out, you have to look at how you develop yourself, who you are, what sort of assets you've got as a person, how you really change yourself, how you evolve. One of the important things, I think, is to have the ability to ask other people's advice, get other advice from other partners. So Clive brought in an eye coach, he brought in a kicking coach. I don't know if you heard of this, Cheryl Calder. She's an eye coach. She taught everybody how to see behind them. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but she's taught peripheral vision. So for 3 months, we learned how to see behind us and catch balls on our shoulders and see our hands. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it really does work. And a lot of the guys who wore glasses or contact lenses actually got rid of those during the process of doing these exercises, because essentially your eyes are only another muscle. And he brought in a load of sort of diverse partners that really helped develop the people, because he knew if he developed his people, his assets, then the team would ultimately respond. He was all about improving 100 things by 1%. But at some stage, you are going to find something that comes up in front of you, which you think you can't do, working outside your comfort zone. But I don't really believe in the word pressure. I don't think it exists. I think pressure really is just a lack of personal belief, or something that other people try and impart upon you to put you off your stride. And sometimes the fear of the unknown is something that you have to avoid, because you should never fear the unknown. It's just experiences. At this stage, I was going to show you a video of me dancing on Strictly Come Dancing, but I figured that wasn't really that appropriate, and I did look a bit stupid. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just find out what sort of assets I've got in the room. So you're going to have 20 seconds to look at the screen next, and I want you to tell me how many Fs you can see on the screen. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. How many of you saw 2 Fs? Put your hands up. 2 Fs, okay. In a rugby team, this was an exercise Sir Clive did when he first took over with England. You'd be our props. We really need you. Because basically you're stupid, but you do as you're told. How many people saw 3 Fs? Okay, you'd be our second rows, selected on size, not ability. How many saw 4 Fs? Okay, good, well done. 4 Fs. You'd be our centres, again, quite big, strong, but a little bit more sort of mentally agile. How many saw 5 Fs? Again, you'd be our captains. You'd be the captains of the team, because you're leaders. How many of you saw 6 Fs? Okay, you would be the decision makers. You're the brains of the side. You're the intelligent ones. Now, if we look at it again, there's actually 6 Fs there, to the naked eye. How many of you saw more than 6 Fs? To the normal human being, there's 6 Fs there. Anyone see any more? There's 23 Fs on the screen. Anyone want to suggest where they are? Yeah? In the B's and the E's. They're all over the place. That's lateral thinking. You're going to go far. When Clive did this test, a few guys got 6. I got 23. That wasn't a joke. I got 23, and Clive didn't think that was very funny. He didn't. He didn't pick me for the next game. For some reason, this isn't carrying on, but, oh, there you go. I'll go back. There again, what is pressure? I tried to put you on in a pressurized situation there, where you're trying to work out, trying to find your answer to a solution under pressure of noise from the outside, and that's what we did a lot in sport. We applied pressure to people, to their senses, or perceived pressure to their senses to try and put them off their game. Mental warfare. Rugby was a game of mental warfare. If you could break someone before they came out, the game was over. Before we played Wales at Millennium Stadium in their first game, as they lined up to come out, they put life-size cardboard cutouts of our opposite numbers in our cubicles in the changing rooms. Martin Johnson wasn't having any of that. We lined them up face-to-face in the tunnel at the Millennium Stadium. As they turned round the corner, they came out of their changing room ready to go. They were shouting obscenities at us in Welsh and English. We couldn't understand either way. And then, on now, the whole team turned and punched the heads off our cardboard cutouts, and then just stood and started looking at the Welsh guys, with Jono at the front, which is quite sort of impressive. But that meant the game was over. We won by 64 points to 3, and I largely believe most of the game was won before the match kicked off, because pressure is about controlling those things around you, if you believe in it. And that's why we did it. We did it for days like that, for winning games against the odds, when teams aren't supposed to win. And why do you create a culture, both in business and sport? You do it so you have lifelong memories. I remember the day we won the title in 2001, that trophy, and I didn't do it just for me or the team. When we won, we were supposed to go to an official match function afterwards. We didn't go to it. We went straight out, turned right to the nearest pub with the trophy that was worth £75,000 and started drinking in the bar with all the supporters that had travelled over. That was about living the brand. That was about the lifestyle that the players wanted. That was about delivering for people that you cared about. And it was about creating memories like that. Now, if you are a great team, that's what you succeed at. You succeed at creating memories. Not just money, not just revenues, not just good business, but great friendships that last forever. And I was fortunate enough to play in teams like that. Because ultimately, win or lose in those teams, in sport, what do? You reaffirm, remotivate, and do it all again, or you give up. It's quite simple. Thanks very much.